sound. They try quick as they turned around. Found ourselves in a situation, stuck in a new location without any explanation. No time for relaxation.
I hate this channel.
I got my feet wet with the original Splatoon over 2 years ago. Granted, I was a little late to the party, and I remember that I wasn't all that intrigued by it for whatever reason. Fast forward to today though, and I can't stop talking about the sequel, Splatoon 2. You'd be hard-pressed to see me talk about any other video game as in-depth and consistently as I do for Splatoon 2 at this time. So, what is the premise for Splatoon exactly? Well, Splatoon puts a huge emphasis on its multiplayer portion, and for good reason. It features these squid kid hybrids called Inklings that shoot each other with ink to splat them. Inklings use a variety of weapons at their disposal like blasters, rollers, umbrellas for some reason, chargers, and brushes to name a few. The amount of options you have to dish out havoc is oh so satisfying. Starting off, let's take a gander at Splatoon 2's single-player mode. It is here that we're introduced to one of the J-pop superstars from the first game named Marie, and her cousin Callie has gone missing and is nowhere to be found. Wonderful start to this game. Considering the duo is never seen separated, this must mean that it was the dastardly evil plans of the Octarian forces. Obviously. Marie appoints you Agent 4 and gives you the task of stopping the Octarian menace while saving the Great Zapfish, which powers all of Inkopolis, and rescuing her cousin from their grasp too. Throughout your adventure, the game will do its best to equip you with different weapons for you to take advantage of, depending on the situation. I really like this idea because it makes the single player a lot more interesting and diverse, rather than just having the standard splattershot style gun from the last game, as you might all remember. Oh, that was boring. You'll be able to upgrade your equipment by collecting eggs so your character can hold more ink, as well as buffing the heck out of your arsenal by making your gear much stronger than the basic vanilla set that you start out with. You might have noticed this already, but when you duck into the ink, you can swim through it and refill the ink you sprayed. Basically, it's like reloading your gun. It is within the single player that you gather tidbits of story. There's Inkling lore if you're the collector type, and since you can switch weapons after you beat a mission, it gives you a bit more incentive to play around with the other options you have, and to have a challenge if you want to try and go for completing all missions with all the weapons. Have fun! I must say that for a shooter, Splatoon does a fantastic job of making each world unique with the settings it provides. Like, for instance, there may be a level where there's nothing but snipers, and all you have is a charger, so there's no other choice but to have a tense sniper shootout with them. Another level may see you with a splatbrella, and have you using it as a defensive shield to take cover from baddies. Well, all the while splatting them one by one, because the splatbrella is supposedly a shotgun? Or something akin to it? One of my favorite additions to the levels, or some of them, is the use of bouncy pads. I love to play around on these. They're incredibly fun, and they remind me a lot of trampolines. The campaign is quite hefty. It feels polished, simple, and clean. It feels like a mode where the developers had a lot of fun crafting this adventure for you to be a part of. I really enjoyed my time with it. Now let's go ahead and dive into the ink with Splatoon 2 multiplayer. Single player is great and all, but any squid will tell you that the multiplayer is where you'll be spending the bulk of your time. Each Inkling is allowed to wear 3 pieces of gear, i.e. a hat, shirt, and shoes. Pants, however, are complimentary, thankfully. Each gear is made by a certain clothing brand and have a higher or lower chance of obtaining certain skills each time you gain experience by leveling them up. You can buy new gear with coins you earn from multiplayer matches by visiting the shops in the square. Weapons are something you have to buy as well, and you get them from Sheldon, the horseshoe crab. He's always spouting off random facts and fascinating details about the weapons you're looking at. I don't think Pearl and Marina are quite particularly fond of him though. The classes of weapons you can obtain are as follows. Shooters. These are the more traditional guns that you see, and they fire moderately fast and are good for ink coverage. Rollers, giant paint rollers that you roll along the ground to cover lots of turf. You can also fling them horizontally and vertically depending on what situation you're in. Sloshers, basically paint buckets, if anything, have you hurling a massive amount of ink in the direction that you're facing. Chargers, this is the sniper class. The longer you charge the shot, the more damage you deal, and the range of the shot increases. Dualies. Dualies are basically two pistols that allow you to dual wield. They have a fast fire rate and allow you to dodge roll from enemy attacks. Splatlings. Gatling guns, for the uninitiated. Sort of like chargers in a way, they have to rev them up before you let them go, and have at it, because there will be a massive barrage of ink. Brellas. Splat brellas with the ability to act as a small defensive shield from attacks. They kinda act like a shotgun, having very short range but pretty powerful stopping power. Brushes. Paintbrushes, what else can I say? You can roll them along the ground like a roller, but they have a higher mobility rate, and you can tap the shoot button to have your inkling swing their brush really fast to cover turf and the enemies in your path. Blasters. The weapon shoots special ink rounds that burst like fireworks after traveling a certain distance. How festive. Each weapon in each class has a different kit, meaning you'll have access to different sub-weapons and a different special move after you fill up your special gauge. Okay, when you head into the multiplayer menu, you're greeted with many routes you can take. Ranked and league battles are essentially the same. They feature you squaring off against others, and 4 possible game modes that rotate every 2 hours in real time. This is also the case for the stages. They switch out on that same 2-hour cycle. You'll know when the end of a cycle happens by a nifty little notification that pops up. Thanks, Nintendo. Pearl and Marina, the new show hosts in this title, brief you in on the new updates too, which is nice. I really like the new hosts quite a bit. They have great songs, and it's also interesting to note that one of the hosts is an Octarian.
And there was one word searing through my mind like bolts of fire. And that word, betrayal!
What?
Betrayal!
Alright, let's get back to the mode explanations, shall we? The modes are Splat Zone, Tower Control, Rainmaker, and Clam Blitz. Splat Zones has you holding down a specific area located on the map. You ink the territory to claim it as your own, and your job is to hold it for as long as you can. Tower Control is just as the name implies. There will be a tower that pops up and your team has to ink the tower and stand on it to get it to move. You have to get that tower all the way to the enemy spawn. Be careful though, as the enemy will be on your toes and try to take you down while you're controlling the tower. Rainmaker. The Rainmaker is a special weapon only showcased here, and at the very end of the single-player campaign. It's an extremely powerful weapon for anyone who holds it, but it paints a target on your back for anyone to see, and makes mobility very slow. You have to carry the Rainmaker from the middle of the map, and slam it down in your enemy spawn to score. Clam Blitz. In this game mode, you have to pick up the golden clams that are scattered around the map and put them in the enemy's basket. Each basket has a barrier that must be taken down before you can throw clams in, however. To do that, you need to at least get 10 clams to make a football-shaped power clam. Once you throw a power clam at the enemy's basket, their barrier will come down and you can sink as many clams as you like.
Delightfully devilish, Seymour.
It's a little bit like football, a little bit like basketball, and it is very, very chaotic. Turf War is the last mode you play. This is not ranked nor leagued, which means you will not have a rank associated to your name when you play. It's purely for sport. Turf War has your inkling covering ground to make sure that they have the most turf. The team with the most turf covered by the end of the 3-minute match wins the game. Pretty self-explanatory if I do say so myself. Each result screen is judged by our feline friend, Judd, and Little Judd.
One and the same.
The origins of his existence is still unknown to this day. Pretty creepy how there's two of him. The last mode that I'm going to cover is Salmon Run. First off, Salmon Run is interesting because there's very particular times you can even play this mode. Supposedly Nintendo was trying to mimic the natural timing of real salmon runs, when salmon, which have migrated from the ocean, swim to the upper reaches of rivers, but they spawn on gravel beds. The more you know, right? Mr. Grizz speaks through a fishing bear statue with a radio antenna attached to it. His true appearance has never been seen, although it is speculated that he is a salmonid, or a grizzly bear, which would make more sense. Mr. Grizz is the owner of a company named Grizzco, which, if you partake in Salmon Run, you will be working for too. Have fun at your part-time jobs, kids. He has the responsibility of training, coaching, and supervising his employees. Each Salmon Run consists of 3 waves. To complete waves, players must collect power eggs and golden eggs by defeating salmonids and depositing them at an egg basket. Each boss salmonid splatted yields 3 golden eggs. However, if they're not all picked up in time, a snatcher will appear after a few seconds to retrieve them. Each player can carry 1 golden egg at a time. Each wave has a quota, which varies based on the number of players present and your ranking. If the quota is not filled before the wave timer ends, or if all players are splatted, they will fail the run. Completing a run will increase the player's pay grade, which also determines the difficulty of the runs. Think of Salmon Run as a fun and kiddie version of the Zombies mode from Call of Duty. It can be pretty challenging and super fun to play with your buddies. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of Splatoon 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Leave a rating for the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like what you saw. Comment down below what you thought of the review and how I could possibly improve. I'm always happy to see new comments on my videos and I love talking with others. This is Cav, and I'm signing out. Have a good day.